All right, time for NVIDIA earnings breakdown. So we had another blowout quarter for NVIDIA, but it wasn't enough for Mr. Market. The stock was down 7% after earnings. A little bit of a recovery today, but it was two brutal days, Wednesday and Thursday for NVIDIA. So let's go over the numbers. We'll look at some graphics and then we'll take a look at the chart. So for Q4, the revenue hit $39 billion, which is up 80% year over year. That's phenomenal growth. 80% year over year is just unbelievable for a company this size. And 90% of their sales was from the data center. So, and that's up 20% quarter over quarter. So out of the $39 billion of revenue, 36 is from the data center, which is pretty unbelievable. Gross margin dropped to 73%. They did mention that's due to different configurations for different customers. Depending on what the customer needs, can adjust the margin a little bit. So not a big deal. They did mention that they see that at the end of the year getting back up into the high 70s. They did mention that Blackwell is off to a record start. So the new platform reached $11 billion in Q1 sales. That's the fastest product launch in NVIDIA history. So that's good to see. They did talk a lot about DeepSeek, and they mentioned, Jensen Huang was mentioning that he expects agentic AI and reasoning AI to multiply future demand for their products. So whether they're using a DeepSeek type model or a standard LLM, they're all going to need GPUs, and it's just the beginning. And as I've stated before, he did talk a lot about it's not just LLMs that are going to need chips. It's going to be everything: robotics, autonomous systems. He likes to say that it's going to be every company is going to have AI factories that are going to either be building something, doing large language models, processing something, storing something. They're going to need AI and AI infrastructure to do those things, whatever they're running in their factories. So factories are going to turn into AI factories, which makes a lot of sense. Who knows how close we are to being there, but if you look at some of Amazon's factories, it's already just robots moving product around. So we're getting closer and closer to that, and that doesn't happen with steam engines. That happens with GPUs and their high-end software. So I agree with him there. The market sentiment, it was another big beat, but expectations were sky high. Some of the potential headwinds are rising competition, export restrictions to China, but they did mention in their earnings that their revenue for China was estimated to be up year over year. So even with the export restrictions, they're going to still be able to sell more chips, and they are working with the new administration to not necessarily roll back, but adjust some of the AI legislature that went in towards the end of last year. And it's not just NVIDIA. There's a lot of companies that are kind of pushing back to some of the regulation. So we'll see what happens there. So what to watch for? We've got the adoption of the Blackwell chips in data centers. Again, when it comes to the rising competition, everyone is starting to build their own chips. Amazon, Google, Tesla, I think Microsoft even is starting to work on some of their own chips. So we'll see how soon those really come alive and are being put to use and scale. But in the meantime, everyone's still buying NVIDIA chips. I was listening to a interview with Amazon CEO, and he said, we still don't have enough chips to do what we want to do, and we definitely don't have enough power. So they have a lot of projects that they want to use AI for, but they're still restricted when it comes to those two inputs. They need more chips, they need a lot more power. So until those two get solved, it doesn't really matter. We're going to still need NVIDIA, and we're still going to need multiple streams of electricity to run these chips. So what we're looking for is the competition and how quick some of those in-house hyperscalers will be shifting to their own AI software and chips. So let's take a look here at the graphic for Q4. Again, mostly data center, 36 billion in data center, 49 billion in revenue. and just look at the meat that is left on the bone for NVIDIA. Just unbelievable. And some of their other small businesses, like gaming, was up 22% quarter over quarter. Automotive was up 27% quarter over quarter, but these are still just peanuts compared to the data center. So again, just this growth in the data center is why the stock has grown so much, because it's their revenue has just exploded and taken off. So, you know, how sustainable is this? We'll have to wait and see. At this pace, probably not sustainable, but I do believe they probably have a few more years of growth like this. Everyone's going to be building out their own data center. When you look at what xAI did with their most recent GPU cluster, they threw that thing up within just a few weeks, and it's the largest GPU cluster in the world. Everyone's going to want that for themselves. xAI is a small company in the scheme of Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Facebook. Everyone's going to want a cluster like that. Not just companies, countries are going to want that to run their own computing and AI platform. So I still think NVIDIA's got a ways to go for this cash cow to keep milking it. Revenue breakdown, again, it's just one product is running the show here for them. They do one thing, they do a lot of things really well, but this is the one that nobody else can compete with right now. I'm waiting. Where's the competition? I'm waiting. But it's just the data center, the computing power, the GPUs, and then the networking, I believe, is their software piece. So let's talk about their valuation. We talked about this last quarter as well. We're seeing the valuation come down for NVIDIA. So they're growing into their valuation. Same thing with Amazon. I mentioned this before. The price to earnings ratio is coming down because their revenue is going up and the price of the stock isn't skyrocketing as like it was in the past. So the price of their earnings multiple isn't going up. It's not outpacing their earnings. Their earnings is outpacing their multiple. So that's great to see. This is kind of hard to see, so I'll read it off here. You've got AMD, their price to earnings is down here at 22. You've got NVIDIA's price to earnings is 29. You've got Microsoft's price to earnings is 30. And Apple's price to earnings is 32. So, you know, Apple's a phenomenal company, but they don't have any sort of growth like this. They don't have this kind of growth. So you typically pay a higher multiple for a growing company like this. So to me, it makes sense to be more bullish on NVIDIA than Apple, in my opinion, unless Apple's going to have some huge growth story coming out of their, pull that rabbit out of their hat. But in this chart here, in this metric, forward PE, Apple is a higher valuation than NVIDIA. So let's go ahead quickly go over the pros and the cons. They are a top performer, dominant in the GPU space, unmatched hardware and software ecosystem. Now that the hardware piece, competition is coming along. The software piece, nowhere to be found. So even if you have great chips, NVIDIA has the key secret sauce here for the software, and that's going to be reoccurring cash flow. Even if people don't upgrade their chips, they're still going to have to pay NVIDIA for the software. The growth and profit, triple digit data center growth, strong margins, massive cash flow. We look back up here to their income statement, 24 billion operating profit, 29 billion in gross profit for a 22 of net profit. They have so much cash, they don't know what to do. I don't know what they're going to do with all this money, except for buy back stock and build a nice, build a new factory, build a new office. They don't even make the chips. That's what's so crazy. They just design the chips. Taiwan Semi makes them. So what do they do with all this profit? I don't know. Just build up their cash pile? Go buy somebody? Who knows? Early stage AI, another pro. AI adoption is still ramping up, fueling demand for NVIDIA's chips and platforms. So we're probably still in the early stages. Now, if growth slows down, sure, maybe companies pull back, but as we've seen from all the other large companies, Amazon spending $100 billion, Meta, Microsoft, they're all spending 50 plus $billion. Apple just announced a $500 billion build out of their cloud. What's that going to look like? So we're still early here. There's still going to be a lot of money spent here, and they're the market leader. So heavy moat with CUDA, that's the software, extensive developer community, and proven track record. Some of the cons are going to be the potential rising competition from AMD, Intel, Google, Tesla. I want AMD to be a competitor. They are just nowhere close. They're just nowhere near. It's like saying a Volkswagen Beetle is a competitor to Ferrari. Just totally two different things. Valuation premium. Shares trade at a higher multiples compared to peers. They're saying peers compared to AMD, Intel, things like that. Like I said in my Amazon video, you get what you pay for. So if you're gonna pay a higher premium, you're gonna get a more premium product, and that's the case here. It's got a higher multiple because its growth is unbelievable. Its cash flow is unbelievable. Its balance sheet is unbelievable. Let's see, extended rally. We'll look at the chart here in a moment. That it's up hundreds of percent the last couple of years. It's probably due for a year to not do anything or go down. When will that be? I don't know. The earnings are still phenomenal. I wouldn't be selling right now with these earnings. Potential shifts. If major hyperscalers pivot more to their own chips, future demand could be impacted. Yes, could be the case. To be determined. When will that happen? I've been waiting. Let's pull up NVIDIA's chart here. And let's zoom out. Boy, I got a lot of lines here. Let me clean some of this up here. So for me personally, NVIDIA is third or fourth largest position. I do have some covered calls on NVIDIA. I believe I closed most of them out. I did open a few today, but I closed some from the earnings drop. But yeah, here's the extended rally that we talked about. Pretty unreal. Justified, in my opinion. So, for me, I could see a little bit more weakness. I don't know when we see all-time highs. If I were to get my squigglies out, I think we see something like this. Just me spitballing here. If you were going to buy, you should have bought after earnings, before earnings, DeepSeek dip. There was a lot of buyers, but now we're seeing a lot of selling. What's the next catalyst to push it up? We've already heard from all the hyperscalers what they're going to spend. We've already heard from NVIDIA their guidance. It wouldn't surprise me if we get some more profit taking as we have more market uncertainty. To me, under $100, I'm there buying all day. I will probably start buying more once we get under 110. Once we get into this box here, this box has been here for a long time. This is my buy target for NVIDIA. Until then, I'll just keep selling covered calls against my shares. And if NVIDIA rallies, I'll be rolling those strikes up. The premiums are actually decent for NVIDIA for a post-earnings trade. The volatility didn't get collapsed. So for me, I'm waiting for a little bit lower to sell puts and buy some more shares. But just a phenomenal quarter, phenomenal business. I see no reason to be worried here for this company in the near term. I haven't seen anything from any competition, from any competitors just yet. We went through the whole DeepSeek saga, and those fears have been soothed over. So to me, the biggest risk to NVIDIA is the market. Like I said with Amazon, this thing's going to fall because the market falls. So that's my opinion. Do what you wish. That is not financial advice. This is just my opinion, my analysis. But another great quarter for NVIDIA. Real quick, let's look at their guidance of $43 billion. They just keep increasing their earnings. They do pay a dividend of 1 penny. So if you're a value investor, come and get your 1 cent. But that's all I really got for NVIDIA. Great business, great CEO, great team there. So congratulations to all NVIDIA holders. Another great quarter. Maybe you don't love the stock reaction, but to me, that's short-term waves in the ocean. So that's all I got for you guys for this video. Have a great weekend. Peace out.